All right, we got Johnny Mack in here joining us now on the JAKIB post-game show for week 1 of the preseason. Let's bring him in here. Johnny Mack, welcome into the program, man. An ugly one tonight. John, I'll get your first takeaways. I want to start with you. They lose the game 24-7, John. All right, they have 6 total first downs, 0 third down conversions. They were 0 for 9 in the game, 7 3 and outs, 159 total yards. The Baltimore's 440. And I think the most concerning, 10 penalties for 96 yards. We're joined now by John McMullen, fresh off the Eagles' first preseason game, live from M&T Bank Stadium. J-Mac, welcome to the program, man. An ugly first preseason game for the Birds.
Yeah, about as ugly as you can get if you take out the garbage time Cole Payton touchdown, as Ed Kratz last at me. Yeah, I mean, they had, I think, 80 total yards going into that drive and late in the fourth quarter. And so that's, let's be honest, that's garbage time. So it looks a little bit better on the final stat sheet. But you mentioned the penalties. I think there's a lot to learn from this particular game. And that is, and I'm talking about from outside, the Eagles will obviously learn from it. But again, we're all caught up in scheme and concepts and that, be effective on first and second down. If you're not effective, you're in 3rd and 15, you're in 3rd and 12. You become predictable. You're not predictable because of play calling. You're predictable because of situation. And that's what the Eagles were today. It's a vanilla game plan, no doubt about that.
I mean, PTSD from last year, though, John, literally the same thing. I mean, how many times did you say that last year?
Yeah. And that's what it's about. And they got behind it. You mentioned the 10 penalties. I don't know how many were. There are at least 5 or maybe more holding penalties. I haven't checked it out, the exact number yet. But, 3rd and 2 became 3rd and 12. 3rd and 5 became 3rd and 15. Yep. And then there were a couple of 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 5 that are more manageable that you'd like to get done. And one, Darius Cooper didn't track the football well. Another one, it was poorly thrown. So, I mean, they didn't play well. That's number one, and that's always number one. And you can't blame it on not playing the starters because the Ravens didn't play their starters. So it was basically an even playing field. And the Ravens rookie quarterback looked better than the Eagles' veteran backup quarterbacks, bottom line. And I think some of the defensive issues with the backup players kind of got lost in the offensive ineptitude. I don't think they played well either. A couple splash plays you think about. I just got done talking to Nick. We were talking about those 2 plays, and they're nice bounce back plays. You want to see that from your players. I'm talking about Sean Wade stripping the football, but he also got beat for the reception. He missed the tackle, and then he deserves credit for hustling back and stripping the football. Keely Ringo gets a big defensive pass interference and then bounces back with the nice interception, which is nice to see. And you want to see guys flush bad plays and be able to get back, but you'd also like them to not have the bad plays. So not a lot of good. You got to really dig to find the good in this. And there's always a little bit. But let's be honest, for what this whole offseason was billed as, this was a disaster. To show this to be the first public impression of this offense. They didn't convert a 3rd down all night.
0 for 9. 0 for 9, John.
All night. They had 80 yards. They were a heartbeat away. If it wasn't, and by the way,
you sat in traffic for this, McMullen? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And by the way, all the Cole Payton stuff was off schedule.
Yeah,
it had nothing to do with the offense. It was just a guy who's mobile, making plays.
Exactly, it was. Even the touchdown, obviously, flushed to his right out of the pocket, made a good play that to keep his eyes downfield. But yeah, you're right about that, John. 10 penalties, though. Do you put that on the coaching staff, dude? I mean, how do you have 10 penalties in this game like that? You said it. I mean, how many times did it set them back on offense? I mean, they go 0 for 9 on 3rd down. A lot of those times because of brutal penalties. Where do you put the blame for that, Johnny Mac? I think it's. I don't want to say it's unacceptable. It's preseason football. I don't want to overreact, but 10 penalties? I mean, come on. Where do you put the blame for that?
Well, it's far too much. I mean, at least half of them, as I said, were offensive holding. And let's be honest. I mean, Miles Hinton's not going to be here if he is, he's going to be on the practice squad. He had 2 of them. Jake Majors got beat. He's not going to be here unless it's going to be on the practice squad. So a lot of it is, I think, just guys being overwhelmed, and that's usually a technique and a fundamental issue. But yeah, it's unacceptable. You're not going to have to worry about that when the starting offensive line is out there. And they weren't. Everybody got dressed like they were going to play. We talked about that, and they just wanted them to get used to it, and then pulled everybody back with the exception of Jihad Campbell. Poor Jihad had to play. I think he was the only starter who played. Even Marcus Epps didn't play. A little surprised by that, but Nick explained he's a little bit older, so they wanted to, manage his workload a little bit because they have the big joint practices with the Patriots this week, and the first team's going to get all their work with those 2 practices. So made some sense from that standpoint. Drew Makuba, as a second-year player, would be in the same category as Jihad, but he didn't play. So a little bit curious from that standpoint, but the Ravens didn't play anybody either. It's not like Lamar Jackson was out there or
Zay Flowers. They didn't have any.
Zay Flowers or Derrick Henry or their starting offensive line. So, and by the way, they got a USC receiver that produced, rookie receiver that produced in
Jacoby Lane.
Yeah. So. Who was a very good player. So, but I mean, just the optics of this whole talk about scheme and it shows up like a T.S. Eliot for those who read. You're expecting a bang and you got a whimper.
Brutal stuff there. John, we'll start on the positives, and we'll get into some of those things here. Won't keep you too long. I know you got a car pulled back, get back home, so we hope you do that safely, obviously, this evening. John, I had a couple positives in the game. I wanted you to tell me what you think. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was one of my positives out there. I thought he had a pretty good night, looked really good. He had the sack. I think he had a couple quarterback hits, 5 tackles in his first couple drives or however long he played out there. I thought Markel Bell looked pretty solid. And then not much after that. Jihad Campbell, I thought, had a pretty good night. And I liked what Sean Wade did just from the hustle standpoint. I know he got beat, but he had that hustle play to get the turnover. And then that one play got beat as well, hustled back and forced the incompletion. But outside of that, not many positives. What'd you make of my positives? And maybe you had a couple more to add, or maybe.
Yeah, well, I mentioned Wade, but I mentioned it more. The strip circuits they do so much of that in practice that people don't get to see, and he was able to, use it in practicality in the game. I thought Ringo bouncing back after the pass. I thought Ty Robinson played pretty well. He got caught for that defensive personal foul, roughing the passer late, but before that he had a sack. He was pretty good stopping the run.
Yeah, nice sack. Yep.
So I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought the operation, that was about the only thing positive about the offense. It wasn't terrible. There was one pre-snap penalty, but Nick didn't believe it had anything to do with some of those issues you might have when you get too close to the play clock and things like that. So, but there wasn't a lot of positive, and it's generally more esoteric positives than on the field positive, especially offensively. I think Will Shipley had 2 nice runs. They went. They only had two.
I think Markel Bell had the seal block on one of those.
He did. They only had 2 first downs in the first half. So, and they only had 4 first downs until the Cole Payton drive in the entire game. The first 2, again, this isn't rocket science. The first 2 were the Will Shipley runs. One was like 8, one was like 9. So you're set up in a situation where it's easy to convert. And, Markel Bell, it's not just Will, but as you mentioned, Markel Bell's block. But when you put yourself in those positions, you're going to be successful.
Right.
And if you're living on third and long, I don't care who your coordinator is. I don't care what your scheme is. I don't even care what players you have. You're not going to be consistently successful.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, I didn't think we would come out of this game saying both Tanner McKee and Andy Dalton were losers in the battle for quarterback 2. I thought they were both losers tonight, John. Neither of them could move the ball well. Now, I don't think it was all on them. Some miscommunications, a bad drop by Darius Cooper, I think with Dalton early on 3rd and 5. What'd you see from quarterback 2 battle tonight between Dalton and McKee, and what did you make of their performance?
Well, I can tell you when Andy left, I said, in the moment, I said, this is a golden opportunity for Tanner McKee to just seize that position,
move the ball
back.
and look better. I agree.
So I don't think either were losers. I think they were both just stagnant. And they're in the same position because neither of them played well. In the case you're right, Andy's should have gotten a first down. That was a Darius Cooper didn't track. That was a fastball, but you got to catch that ball.
Yeah, agreed.
Tanner, boy, he's just throwing the football ineffectively, which I didn't think you'd see.
He doesn't look himself, John. He looks spooked or something. I don't know what's going on with him.
Maybe he's lost some confidence. Maybe it's something of that nature. But right now, I think it's status quo, and I think status quo. Andy started the game. I think nobody will admit it, but he's the quarterback too. But I don't know how you move Tanner McKee for anything of value if he continues to play like this.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll keep watching that as we continue to roll on here. John, what'd you make of JAKIB Campbell getting the playing time tonight? No Drew Makuba. So Makuba's obviously well in. No Marcus Epps. They line up JAKIB Campbell, though. I was a little surprised, I'm not going to lie, to see Campbell out there. Basically one of the only, if not, I think the only starter out there who played for the Philadelphia Eagles tonight. What'd you make of JAKIB Campbell being out in the field?
Yeah, he was the only one. And it's a little bit strange. Now, I don't think Chance Campbell, I don't think I saw him. I don't think he played. So they might have just had a numbers problem at linebacker and had to play somebody because they don't have and they just signed a linebacker, but he wasn't ready to play today. So I think it was that more than anything that somebody had to play, and obviously it's not going to be Zach Bond. So JAKIB had to play a little bit, but they have more safeties that they could roll in and take the reps. I'm a little bit surprised that because he was the only one, but they've done that in the past. They did it with Jordan Davis last year, which was weird at the time, but that was before he had his big breakout season. So Nick was talking about it. He said, JAKIB didn't play a ton after Nakobe came back last year. So, he doesn't have a ton of reps under his belt. But I'm with you. I thought it was a little bit strange that they put him out there.
Yeah, especially with, Campbell not coming off an injury and Makuba is. So I thought maybe, hey, want to shake some of that rust off. Is what it is. John, what'd you make of Marcus Epps gets the starter treatment tonight? Is that basically, kind of all you need to see to tell you where the Eagles are at that safety spot? We've kind of thought that, but is this kind of not the final nail in the coffin, but Marcus Epps is going to be the starting safety? Is that how you take that?
No, not yet, but, he's clearly in the lead. I think it has more to do with Vic doesn't want to play Michael Carter at safety because he wants him to be able to play a bunch of different
to be versatile. Yeah, I agree.
More than anything else. So, I still think there's a chance they could trade for a safety. Don't close that door. But I think if they don't do anything, it's probably 80-20 that Marcus is going to be the starter in nickel because Cooper's going to be the starter in base.
John, what'd you make of Darius Cooper tonight? I've been giving him a lot of hype. He's earned a lot of that hype this offseason training camp based on what he's done. Just didn't make the plays tonight. We talked about the one play on 3rd and 5 he needed to make. Look, it's preseason and you never want to be too hard, but when you're a player and you're battling for a roster spot, John, you're battling for playing time, you got to make every opportunity, make every play that you have an opportunity to make. What'd you make of Darius Cooper's performance tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good. Nick was kind of prophetic when he said it's August 13th. It's still early.
Yeah, right.
And you kind of saw it. It was his plays got to make, and the offense as a whole. It's not like he didn't play well. The quarterbacks didn't play well. The offensive line did. I mean, everybody had a hand in it. But for a player who's trying to, garner reps, and people are talking about, well, he should play above Mekhi Lemon, slam that door. That ain't happening.
No.
And even Hollywood Brown, it's very unlikely. Which I was trying to warn people. It's very unlikely, and I think you saw it live and in color tonight.
Yeah, well, it's unlikely because of the business of the NFL, and now it also might be unlikely just based on that performance. We'll see how that continues to go. John, what'd you make of the international players, man? Both of them got some reps out there. Joshua Wiru with a quarterback hit. Uar Bernard getting a double team already. Holy moly, what'd you make of those two guys out there tonight?
Yeah, same. Well, if Vic was here, he'd chime in and say, get off of that. But we're just reacting to what we're seeing. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I mean, Josh is further advanced than Uar. I think that's pretty clear. But they're both. The Eagles want to work with both of them for the long term. Uar, I still think will make the 53. They'll try to get Josh through waivers, and they probably will, because it's very unlikely that someone wants to guarantee a roster spot for Josh Wiru. So they should be able to work with both of them moving forward. And that's what they want to do. And I don't think anything they do in the preseason is going to change that equation.
I'm with you. John, what'd you see from Ebiketie and Epinesa tonight? I thought Epinesa actually looked pretty good. He got beat on that one play early. I think it was the first drive of the game that was almost 30 yards. But he's in coverage. Yeah, I mean, he's not a coverage player.
Blame Vic on that one. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
He's got to stop with that. And I know it's an indictable offense to criticize Vic Fangio, but yeah, 265-pound edge guys aren't comfortable in space.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's part of his process. And again, he's not. The goal isn't to cover guys. The goal is to fool the quarterback. But when the quarterback isn't fooled, it can look pretty bad when those guys are out in space. And you saw that. So maybe don't put him out in space. He's a pretty good edge defender, though.
Yeah, good stuff there. All right, Johnny Mac, a couple final questions for you to wrap it up here. Cut down's not till August 30th, so we're 15 days. I believe it's August 30th. Whose stock actually moved tonight, either up or down, and what might matter from this game in 2 weeks? There's still too much left to play to even be conclusive at all on that.
Well, I think there's time to recover. A lot of people went down. A lot of people didn't play well. We just talked about a lot of them.
Yeah.
But there's still time to recover. There are a couple guys, though, that Miles Hinton really hurt himself. I think Jake Majors really hurt himself.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to think. A lot of the cornerbacks that were playing today, Mac McWilliams, I think, hurt himself. He was making some positive, I think, inroads in practice, and I think he took a step back. But, I mean, a lot of the key defensive reserves weren't even playing. So you had a bunch of guys out there like Sean Wade, like Jose Ramirez, guys that, Teron Jackson, who just got back, and David Blay, who just got.
I think Andre Sam was out there. There was a bunch of guys.
Well, Andre's further above those guys. He got a shout out today by Nick Sirianni. So
nice.
He might be a backup. He's got a chance to make the team, but there are a lot of guys who were out, both from a health standpoint and like we said at corner specifically, you don't have your top 4 corners out there. So you start at number 5. And it was Keely Ringo and Jacorian Bennett. And by the way, Jacorian Bennett got hurt early in the game and didn't come back. So you're really down at the bottom. So
Ambry Thomas, a couple of those guys. Yeah, a bunch of dudes out there. All right, John, joint practices in New England next week. Probably the biggest week of the summer for this team. That's where the ones get their real work in these joint practices. They'll get most of the reps, obviously, lined up against New England's number ones, obviously, in that practice. And then they'll have another preseason game. I believe it's next Saturday. I'm not sure if it's the same time. I'll keep you guys posted on that. What do you make of going into next week, a big week for this Eagles team, the joint practices in New England?
Yeah, and it'll be even hyped up even further by AJ and how that shakes out. But it should be good work, very good team. That's a good thing to work against a good team. And they'll want to bounce back from this performance, certainly. So I think there'll be a sense of urgency. Again, the starters weren't out there, so it had nothing to do with Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley or the offensive line. But, to see the same bugaboos as last year crop up and it look awfully familiar is not a positive way to come out of this game.
Yeah, no doubt. John, apparently they said on the broadcast tonight that John Mannion mentioned he was going to do the play calling from the booth next week in order to test out both options. So maybe that will give them a little spark, J-Mac.
Well, you know what? I don't like that because it looks like he's uncertain. He's going to be on the field. I mean, he's going to be on the field. So
I agree. But
I don't know why they're doing that kind of nonsense. He's going to want to have that personal back and forth with Jalen Hurts. If he's in the booth, I'd be stunned as a former quarterback himself. And he said he knows the relationship and what it has to be between the coordinator.
Yeah, especially communication. I agree.
Yeah, I can't imagine for a million years he'd be. So I don't know why they're playing those games, especially after what happened today. I think shut that down and show some confidence.
I'm with you. All right, John, 2 more questions for you here. One of them is your final thought. What's the one thing, if you had to kind of summarize it in terms of the real thing to be concerned? It's preseason week 1. I don't think we need to overreact at this point. But boy, I read you the numbers, J-Mac. They were 6 first downs, 0 third down conversions, 0 for 9, 7 3-and-outs, 159 total yards to Baltimore's 440, 10 penalties for 96 yards, a dud in Sean Mannion's debut. What's the one thing, John, to be concerned, if anything, from tonight? Walk us off the ledge for the Eagle fans listening, J-Mac.
Well, the one thing is it's not the starters. So, I mean, it exposes some of the depth issues, but if you take out Cole Payton, 2 first downs in 55 minutes of football, 2 first downs in 55 minutes of football. Where are the layups? Where are the scheming people open? But it is preseason. It is vanilla.
Yeah, maybe next trying to keep it all away, I guess, in theory. Could possible.
Well, he talked about the vanilla game plan, but he also said, it's our basic plays and we want to execute them better. Just an ugly, there's no way you can spin it in a positive way.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts, man. I know you got to get out of here and get home safely. Your final thoughts. Eagles lose 24-7 in the preseason opener, and the 2026 campaign, J-Mac, has begun.
It can only go up. It can only go up.
So they
can't wait for the Cole Payton should be the backup quarterback conversations.
Oh, that's coming Monday on Birds 365, my friend. We'll save it for then. John, thank you for doing it, man. Great stuff. As always, your insight is always valued and welcomed, and we love having it here on JAKIB Sports. We appreciate it, man. Get home safe, and we will catch up with you on Monday. All right, brother?
All right. I appreciate everybody sticking through this one.
Yeah. And we appreciate you doing the drive and going through the hoopla to get there, J-Mac. Thank you, brother.
All right. See ya.